Hi, this is Shaheedah Hill, getting you over the hill to home ownership and helping you confidently buy your first home. Today, I want to try something different and I want to go over a transaction so you can kind of get a better idea of how things would go from the time that you put an offer on a property to the time that you close, and some of the things that may happen in between. So I have an example here. This is a real closing. This closing was FHA. It was a family. And in this family, they were getting a gift from a parent. So I'll, bring that up probably when it's relevant. But for example, so day one made an offer. It was about 10 a.m. We received a counter offer the next day at around 9 o'clock. I know I put that in. I tried to keep record of it. Day three is when the contract went binding. So we made an agreement between our offer and their counter offer. We kind of met in the middle and we went binding on day three, meaning all parties agreed and signed the contract. Now, we did have a 10-day due diligence period with the binding agreement. So my client had 10 days to do their inspection, to look at the property, to go to the, and typically I tell my clients, go to the house during the day, go at night, go at different times of the day, go on the weekend. So you can see the traffic patterns, you can see the neighborhood, you can see when the neighborhood is, what happens at night, what happens during the day. They're checking the schools if they haven't already. They're doing all of their due diligence during that period because, at least in Georgia, you need to check in your state, they can terminate in due diligence for any reason. Typically, it's for inspection reasons, but it could be for any reason. They don't have to really give a reason. So we had a 10-day due diligence. This property also had a septic tank. So when you're in a more rural or older community, some of those homes may not be on the public sewer. They may be on a septic tank. So that septic tank also needs to be inspected during that time. So all of these things were happening during this due diligence period. On day 5, my clients did their home inspection. Day 8, once we had the inspection and we reviewed it, we gave the seller, an amendment to address concerns. So amendment for repairs based on the inspection report. You're not going to get every repair done that you want, but you really want to focus on things, or I tell my clients to focus on things that are very expensive, that are not operational, so not working at all, and those that might be hazardous. If you want to focus on those for the most part and kind of leave some of the cosmetic items that, try to get the most important things done. So the due diligence, we made an amendment. Everybody agreed to the repairs. Our due diligence ended on day 13. So right now, then my clients cannot terminate for any reason now that the due diligence has expired. If they were to terminate outside of their appraisal contingency or their finance contingency, and if you haven't seen that video, I have a video about how you can terminate or how to get out of your real estate contract. If they terminated for any other reason, then they would be at risk now of losing their earnest money that they put up with their offer. So on day 13, the appraisal was ordered. The reason why the lender may not order the appraisal as soon as you go under contract is because you do have an opportunity to terminate. So they want to make sure that you're going to buy that house before they order the appraisal. So the appraisal was ordered on day 13 when the due diligence ended, and my clients went ahead and paid for that appraisal. Now on day 23, so there's a long gap. So everything's with the lender, the contracts with the closing attorney, but sometimes there's a long gap and you might be in line waiting to go to underwriting. So on day 23, the loan processor contacted my client looking for additional documents, prepping them to go into underwriting. The appraisal had also come back at that time. The property appraised for the value or more than the value. So there was no further amendments that needed to happen. If you haven't seen my appraisal video, you'll want to watch that. On day 28, my clients did get a conditional approval. So basically, the conditional approval said, as long as you meet these conditions, your loan is going to be approved. And for this loan specifically, they wanted 3 things. They wanted an updated bank statement from my client. They also wanted rental verification. During this time, the underwriters could not contact my client's apartment complex. So they wanted rental verification. So she had to work on getting that to the underwriter, or to the loan processor for the underwriter. If you haven't watched my underwriting video, that will become clear to you. And she also she was getting gift funds from a parent. So she had to get proof of where the money was coming from. So she had to get her parents' bank statements as well as the gift funds, where they were coming from. So the underwriter wanted that documented. So all of those things were happening with the conditional approval. And as quickly as you can turn those things around, the better. Now, we had a 30-day close. So right now we're at about day 28, and it didn't look like it was going to close. Day 31, the closing attorney told us or informed all parties that the title wasn't clear. And in this particular example, the seller went through a divorce, and as part of that divorce, one of the I don't know if it's the husband or wife, but one of them refinanced the home. And during that refinance, whoever they refinanced with didn't clear that title once the loan was paid off. So the closing attorney had to go back to who they refinanced with. And I don't know if it's a husband or wife, they couldn't remember who they refinanced with. So there was a lot of research that needed to happen during that time to get in contact with the lender so the lender can release their lien that they had on the house previously. And so that did delay our closing. Now, my client was under a lease, and she had given her apartment complex notice that she was going to close on that house. So one of the things that we were going to do, so if we couldn't close before my client needed to be out of her lease, then we were going to make the seller pay any of the penalties that she may incur for the sellers missing the closing date. And the sellers did agree to that. However, we didn't have to do that because it did wind up coming through, and they were able to get the clear title within a reasonable amount of time that didn't impact my client's closing. So on day 41, so it's 10 days later, the lien was released, and we were able to close 2 days later. And so we did have an amendment in place that basically said all parties agreed to close on or before a specific date. And if we weren't able to close on or before that specific date, then the seller was going to be responsible for paying the penalties of my buyer, because she was going to have to pay a penalty to kind of hold over in her apartment. So, but she closed, the seller was happy, my buyer was happy, everything, went really smoothly at that point, and we closed. So this was a 43-day closing. It was FHA with a gift, and that's really it. So this is kind of how the transactions go. All transactions are different, so none of them are the same, but I hope to bring you some more like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Please put in the comments if you have any questions, but this is a sample of what typically could happen during a transaction. Thank you so much.